the new exciting features of the Child Life Care Kit.
Well, thank you so much, Buffy. And this is a project that for us has been a true honor to be a part of. And so as my company and kind of our expertise is in working with children to collaboratively design technology, particularly kids with illness. And so this project, it was really a dream to see Aflac's passion to give back tangibly beyond philanthropy in ways that we could really emotionally support children throughout their chemotherapy treatment journeys. So we kind of started with this big, broad question of how we might improve the lives of children living with cancer. And what our process looked like, it took ultimately about 18 months to develop the duck. And through that time, we worked with about 100 families and 35 doctors. So this began with all of these visits to patient rooms. We worked with the Aflac Cancer Center at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and would go in and would meet every day with kids to understand their experience. And at this phase of the process, really to put ourselves in their shoes and try to see through their eyes so that we could design something that was truly effective and was truly not just cute and cuddly, but actually helping to address some of the problems that children experienced as they went through their cancer treatments. And as we go through and we do all these interviews, the way that our team works is we create all of these visuals. They help us understand and contextualize the information, and also helps us all kind of align around how we can best serve the needs of the patient. So this was a visual we created to sort of map the patient experience and the patient journey. For us, as we did our background research, we had heard things like, on average, children with cancer see over 80 medical professionals on their first day of diagnosis. We said, oh my gosh, 80 medical professionals, how is that possible? And as we mapped the treatment journey, we saw exactly how that was possible, because children come into their pediatrician's office before going to the hospital, and all sorts of reasons related to the testing of how that happens. We created frameworks to understand what children are hearing, seeing, feeling, and thinking. This is an HSFT map, which is exactly that, and really helped align us around some of the unique challenges that children faced as they were coming into the hospital for repeat visits to get their chemotherapy. So we used all sorts of tools to kind of understand the patient experience. And I think the easiest way to sort of describe how all of these interviews and interactions with children and families boil down to a duck that delivers comfort and joy is to just kind of demonstrate the duck and explain why we developed the features that we developed. So I'm just going to move out of screen sharing for just a minute. And so can everybody see here my special Aflac duck? So the first insight and kind of the biggest insight that we learned is that children lose so much control throughout their chemotherapy that they gravitate towards play where they're in control. So at least at the Aflac Cancer Center, the most requested toy among boys and girls were Legos, because they got to build and design their world. And we were fascinated by this. And this became kind of the grounding insight. How can every aspect of play with a duck give children back some feeling of control? So what that began with was medical play. Children can attach a chemotherapy port right to the duck's chest, and the duck can receive the same type of chemotherapy treatments as kids are receiving. So the duck acts a little surprised at first, and then you could feel this kind of vibrating heartbeat that starts out fast and goes slow. And as you pet the duck, as the duck's getting chemo, it doesn't make any sounds, it just nuzzles up to you. And at the tip of the port, you can attach a syringe to flush the duck's line, and the duck actually now comes with its own replica syringe that I can show later. And then the next insight that we learned is that it's just so difficult for children to communicate their feelings. So what we developed is this series of feeling cards: happy, scared, silly, mad. And when you tap each card to the duck's chest, the duck acts with that feeling. So if you've ever been curious what a mad duck sounds like, this is it. And children love this because it both gives them that feeling of control. My duck can feel exactly how I feel, but it also allows the duck to act as a proxy for the child's own feelings and the child's own emotions. And we find that often child-like professionals, people who are working with kids, will ask them how their duck feels about something. This duck is feeling a little sassy about even being asked that question, right? But it allows kids this freedom to be able to articulate and speak about things that they might not otherwise be comfortable sharing, right? And I think just a really brief anecdote about the power of this process of working with patients really comes from this card. Not many people know what this emoji is. Does anybody know what this emoji stands for? You can unmute yourself and just yell it out if you do. Well, I didn't either. This is the calm emoji. But just to give you an insight into how we developed these feeling cards, I showed you all of that kind of mind mapping where we pulled out emotions from the interviews that we had done with families. Well, we actually went to the Cancer Center with all of the emojis from the iOS and Android emoji set and all of the emotions, the emotion words written down, and we played a game of matching with children. And kids matched the emoji to the word. And the word calm is not a word that's in the vocabulary of 3- and 4-year-olds. So this was a head scratcher. We were sitting in the interview and saying, well, it's like being wrapped in your favorite blanket. It's like being in a bubble bath. Every single child unanimously chose this face to describe that feeling. And that might not seem, transformational, but here this process of working with children allowed us to give a voice to kids to describe a feeling they could have otherwise never put words to. So that's the power of the process, and it's really the power of the duck. It does so many other things. There's a soundscape spaceship that kids can do guided meditations to. This blasts off to all sorts of different auditory planets. And there's a whole app in which kids can customize how these planets sound to, again, give them control. They can feed their ducks, bathe their ducks. They can flush their ducks' port. They can put cold spray on it. You name it. The app really builds this kind of digital universe for kids to explore. So with that, I'll just hand it back over to Buffy, who will share a little bit about the impact that we've seen since kind of launching the duck.
Thanks, Aaron. And I should have said, if you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to enter them in the chat, or we're going to definitely have time at the end for questions. But one of the first things we wanted to do when we were working on this project was to make sure that we could feasibly make an impact in levels of distress amongst children and their families going through a cancer diagnosis. So in partnership with the Aflac Cancer Center, we did an initial feasibility study, which we were really proud. It was printed in Pediatric Blood and Cancer. But then going forward, we're now in the middle of doing a multi-site efficacy study on My Special Aflac Duck. So the Aflac Cancer Center researchers are leading this study, but it involves 8 hospitals across the country. And there are going to be 20 patients enrolled in each hospital. And they're going to be 4 of the hospitals are going to be a control group, and then the other 4 are going to actually get My Special Aflac Duck and see if there are differences based on distress level and other measures. And so we're excited to get those results. As you can imagine, things have been a little slower in patient enrollment due to the pandemic, but we're finally have all 8 sites enrolling patients and starting to get the ball rolling there, and hope to have some great results to share with you all, maybe even as early as later this year. But we're really excited about that. And then other ways we've seen impact, Aaron, if you want to move to the next slide, are awards. So you can see that My Special Aflac Duck is truly an award-winning duck, thanks to Aaron and his work. And you saw the amount of diligence that he put into creating the duck. But these are just some of the awards we have won over the last few years that we're very proud of. But nothing is more important to us than actually the impact we're seeing in the lives of children with cancer. And this is one of my favorite pictures, a little girl in South Carolina. Back when we were able to go in hospitals and deliver ducks in person, this was her reaction when she got her very own duck. And I believe she named her duck Princess Poppy. Yes, Aaron's nodding. So just wanted to share that because that really is at the center of everything we are doing with My Special Aflac Duck.
And this is just so powerful. This image is for us what really keeps the team going. And Aflac has been so gracious to kind of continue learning in this program. So as Buffy said, we launched the duck in 2018, but we've continued interviewing families and to really truly understand, not just what were the problems so that we could design something that might provide comfort and joy, and not just the research, as we can show quantitatively, right, that we're able to impact the stress, but what are the real stories from families? How are they using it? How is it impacting their lives? And this has been so helpful for us, for the team at Aflac, to really think about how we continue to evolve the program. So as we did these interviews, we also began interviewing child life professionals and other people who were using the duck with children in the hospital. And what became kind of apparent through these interviews is that there was an opportunity to provide additional education to use the duck, partially because as we did these interviews, everybody invented their own ways for using the duck. Everybody who was using the duck with children was so creative. They thought of new ways of doing guided meditations that use the soundscape. They thought of ways of customizing the duck with off-the-shelf medical components to put an ostomy bag on the duck, or to put an amia reservoir on the duck's head, right? And so we got so inspired by this that we wanted to create a way that we could share best practices for using the duck among everybody who is kind of facilitating play with children. So we did these interviews with child life professionals, and then what we created, and I'll hop back out of this presentation, is something that we call the Child Life Professional Care Kit. So I'll kind of walk through what's in it and why, in the same way I walked through the duck. And feel free, as Buffy said, as we're doing this, to hop through and ask any questions. So the first thing that we developed is this kind of expert guide. Because when we built the duck with all sorts of kind of secret codes in it. So one example of that is when you use the COM card, that card that we went through, the duck takes diaphragmatic breaths, so deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, right? And the duck will take 4 breaths. But what people don't know is that if you pet under the duck's wings, it'll take an additional 2 breaths. So child life professionals or anybody who's using the duck with children can kind of puppet the duck to facilitate play in almost a magical way for kids. So we wrote down all of these kind of different ways that you can use the duck in this expert guide. The next thing we did is we took, as I mentioned, all the ways that people were hacking their ducks. They were being kind of the Geppettos of their own hospitals. And we made this DIY guide. So if you want to give your duck a mask, we have kind of instructions for how to take a typical surgical mask and customize it. This was actually before the time of COVID. If you want to give your duck a trach tube, here are kind of instructions for what to do to take a standard trach tube and customize it so that the duck can look just like the child that's using it. The next thing that we did is we took all of these awesome ways that people were using the duck. As I mentioned, things like guided meditation, and we created a really simple series of just kind of back and front cards. Each one has a different technique. So this technique is related to meditation and breathing, and it's a guided imagery technique. There's another meditation and breathing technique that's about diaphragmatic breathing. And so we go through, and each of these cards touches on a different aspect of care, whether it's kind of a sense of control, whether it's medical play, whether it's communicating your feelings. And each one of those cards actually comes from a different professional who invented that way of using the duck with children. The next piece, as I bend down here, actually comes with additional medical play. So people were asking for all sorts of things that they wanted to be able to demonstrate with the duck. So we created a syringe, which fits right in the portacath so that you could flush the duck's lines or give the duck a shot. We created a temporal thermometer so that you can, why am I doing this on myself? So that you could check the duck's temperature. And there's a really fun medical play wheel that you could spin and you could see you go from hot to cold. We created a pulse oximeter so that you can clip right onto the duck's wings so that you could take the duck's temperature. We have this really nifty kind of self-adherent wrap so that if the child is having surgery, if they have a bandage, you could wrap the duck in the same way that the duck is wrapped, all going back to how do we make the duck just like the child. And last but not least, we have actually a real stethoscope that you can use and put up to the duck, ooh, quite loud, and listen to the duck's heartbeat. And so the whole goal with this was that we wanted children to be able to do everything to the duck that they were going to experience when they come into the hospital, right? We don't want any of this to be a surprise. And, oh my, the coolest part of the whole thing is actually the case that it comes in. Because it comes in a case that looks like an MRI machine or a CT scanner machine. So you see we have a control panel on one side. we have a little duck image on the other. And when we unzip it, you can just simply Velcro the bed like this and this. And all of a sudden, whoop, you can give the duck an MRI. And so we were really just passionate about all of the ways that we could support those people like yourself who are using the duck with children. You know, how do we make it easier to use the duck? Because ultimately we want this to be a tool that's used with every single child with cancer. And Aflac was so gracious that as we developed these medical tools, they said, hey, why don't we give these also to every child who's getting a duck? So now every single My Special Aflac duck comes with the temporal thermometer, the pulse oximeter, the self-adherent wrap, the stethoscope, the injector, so that all of these children can get ready for their checkups with medical professionals before they go. They could practice at home, they can do medical play at home. And then the next really exciting thing that we did is we actually built out a lot of those medical tools in the My Special Aflac Duck app. So I mentioned that the duck has an app, and I'll show you just really briefly. We built out additional medical play features, and then one of so here we have the app, which you can see. We're kind of scrolling around the duck's virtual world. In the hospital, there's all sorts of kind of this tray of medical tools. So you can give the duck an NG tube, you can do a blood draw, you can use cold spray, you can do medication via IV. And when we do this, it's actually pretty neat. Oh, and pill swallowing, which was something that was really stressful for kids and requested. What you actually do is you line up your duck, and you can give cold spray, for example. So it all happens through an augmented reality experience. You can Bluetooth connect the duck, which I didn't do, so that when you spray the cold spray, your duck actually reacts with the cold spray. It goes, and then, so that is kind of enhancing the medical play features of the duck. And then we wanted to also enhance some of the more therapeutic or rather calming features of the duck. And the way that we did that is creating something called Music Maker. So you can go into the duck's music studio now and create all sorts of songs with the duck. There's different characters in the band. Each one plays different instruments. You can compose the music. And then when you go to the stage, the duck will dance along to the songs that you make. So one of the things that we're so excited about with these features is we launched them in August, and we've already seen that kids are spending about 1.5 minutes more in the app. Kids are loving the Music Maker feature, and there's all sorts of fun stuff that we've learned, like the favorite thing that you could feed your duck is a banana. We have about, I believe, let me check how many thousands of bananas that have been fed. There have somehow been 14,000 bananas that have been fed to My Special Aflac duck in the past 3 months. So just a funny anecdote there. So with that, I'll just pass this back over to Elaine to share a little bit about the impact that we've seen from distribution.
Thanks, Aaron. Well, it's an honor to be here, everyone, and share kind of what we've been up to and program to date, how many ducks we've distributed. And we are excited to share that we've actually exceeded 10,000 My Special Aflac ducks throughout the United States. Yes, it's definitely an exciting time to know that we have made an impact on that many patients and their families to be able to provide comfort and joy to them through their cancer journey. And so we partner with organizations like yourself, as well as hospitals and other childhood cancer organizations all over the United States. And we have a presence in over 300 of those organizations and hospitals. And we also continue to ship out My Special Aflac duck. Even throughout 2020, with COVID and everything going on, we were still shipping out ducks, and we continue to do so. Just last year, we actually shipped out more than 4,000 ducks. And so we continue to do so. And one thing I wanted to make sure everyone knew and reiterate is all of our orders for this year and go forward include the medical accessories that Aaron just showed you, those 5 amazing tools. Yes, and so we have already received so much feedback from different child life specialists and individuals in the medical profession where, you know, because of COVID, they weren't able to access the supplies that they normally would be able to access, like going to grab a syringe to interact in that medical play with their patients. But now buy all of the My Special Aflac ducks, including these accessories, they don't have to use the supplies from the hospital. So that is definitely another just blessing that we can provide to all of the patients in having that medical play. Also wanted to mention that in 2020, we launched our subscription program. And so you can actually auto ship My Special Aflac ducks to you every month, just like you do on some of those convenient websites of e-commerce where you have stuff shipped to you. And so we do have that available when you place your orders. And so if y'all have any questions, I see familiar names on here that have actually already ordered My Special Aflac ducks. And so if y'all have any questions about your credentials or anything like that, I am your point of contact for ordering ducks. And so if at any time, just feel free to reach out to me. We are here to help you. If you have not yet registered to order My Special Aflac ducks, you can go to the website that is on the screen, www.aflac.com/myspecialrequest, and submit that registration form for you to order, to get your credentials to order ducks. We want to encourage everyone and reiterate that you can order as often and as many as you need for your pediatric oncology patients age 3 and older. That is something we always get asked about is, well, how many or what's the maximum number I can order? And there's no such thing. If you know of a patient that has been diagnosed or is going through their journey, we want them to have a My Special Aflac duck. And that is our goal, is to get a My Special Aflac duck in the hands of every child that is diagnosed with cancer or going through their treatment. And so, but yes, if y'all have any questions, and if you have your credentials already, just go to www.myspecialaflacduck.com/order, and that's where you can place your orders to go ahead and get those shipped out to you. We do try to make sure we get them out as quickly as possible. So just be mindful though, because of COVID, we have seen slight delays with FedEx delivery because they are all shipped FedEx ground. But yes, all of our inventory that goes out will include the medical accessories now. So we are super excited about that. And also just look for some updates on our website on aflacchildhoodcancer.org about more information and upcoming videos that we will be launching as well.
Well, thank you so much to all of you. You were a big reason why we were able to get so many ducks to children in 2020. I know it was a real bummer not to be able to have in-person meetings and camps last year, but you guys were so creative and found a workaround and were able to send those camp packs to the children themselves at home, and a lot of you included the duck, and we're happy to support you however we can. And we just appreciate your partnership and all that you guys are doing for children and their families. But happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Buffy, I wanted to ask, I know you guys are probably in different hospital systems across the US. I mean, you know, our camps are a part of different hospital systems. Are there any that you guys are wanting to work with that maybe you're not working with currently, and maybe some of our camps can maybe help in that process? You know, I think it's so important that all the kids out there that are diagnosed with cancer have an opportunity to have My Special Aflac duck. So maybe there's a way that we can help with that. Absolutely.
Thank you for asking that question, Jennifer. I think I shared this when I came in November, but it's one of our internal goals is to be in all 50 states. And we're still missing the same 2 states we were missing, I think, back then. I know, it's terrible. So we would love your help with Vermont and Wyoming in particular. Yes. Is Vermont
Dina,
on?
Yes, Dina is your connection. And let me just say, if
Dina, we love you.
Dina can make it happen in Vermont.
We'll connect.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'll
Well,
make,
Dee,
yeah,
Well,
if
you
I
will
had-
definitely be hearing from me.
I was to say, Dina, Elaine is your person to get ducks to your state.
Yes, absolutely.
where was the
That's
other one?
awesome.
It's Wyoming. Darla, I'm going to put you on. Darla runs a camp Wapi-Api out of Denver. Darla, do you reach up into Wyoming?
Oh, she's on mute.
We can't hear you.
I thought I saw a nod.
I saw a nod.
Trying to get her to unmute.
There we
Okay,
go.
sorry. I was not aware I was muted. Okay, yes, I will definitely reach out and get some information on Wyoming. I know there's some camps up there, but I just don't know the status. So I will follow up with Don or Jennifer. Okay,
Yeah,
happy to do that.
I'm
Thanks,
trying to
Darla.
think who's in Wyoming, but it's not.
We don't have a camp in Wyoming.
I didn't think we did, but
I think
maybe
most
Darla
of the
knows.
kids out of Wyoming go to Colorado or over to Idaho. We have two in Idaho. So
Right.
Yes, that is what we have found too. It's patients go to Colorado or Idaho. So that's one of the reasons why, because there's actually not a hospital or a clinic that is specializing in pediatric oncology in Wyoming. So we have to find a way to get creative because we know there are patients there that need a duck, but hopefully they are receiving it through their hospital in Colorado and Idaho.
well, now that we know what to do, Elaine, I think we can help you out. So
Thank you. That
You
would be
bet, sure.
great.
yes.
Beverly, I see your question about sickle cell, and I'm actually glad you asked it because we actually did a pilot with sickle cell patients last year at the Aflac Cancer Center, and we gave out about 100. And so Erin is in the process this year of doing in-depth research to see how we might kind of rebrand the duck so that it can be used for sickle cell and blood disorders as well as children with cancer. So we're really excited. We think that'll broaden it. And as you stated, there's so many similarities with the treatment of those two diseases, so that we really want to include sickle cell and blood disorders in the future.
Okay, so I distribute already, and I'm not going to say no to another kid. So
Hey,
I don't know.
what we don't know doesn't hurt us.
Oh, good. That's good. So I just claim New Zealand immigrant ignorance. So
We'll take it, Beverly.
We love Kiwis.
Any other questions from you guys? Anything else we can help with? One thought I had, Elaine, it might be good if we could get Jennifer and Dawn to maybe send out our list of hospitals. And that way you guys can see the ones that we do have, but I am sure there's lots out there that we don't. And we would love, besides the 2 states that I mentioned to you, we'd love your help in any way, shape or fashion to get more ducks to more kids.
Absolutely. Are there any child life specialists that are on right now that are actively using my special Aflac duck with their patients?
well, Melissa just texted me. She couldn't get on. She was using the old link. So I don't think you sent her an updated link.
Oh, no.
We sent one out this morning about 10:30, Beverly.
Yeah, she's working the rounds too. So she didn't get it apparently.
Well, we've got a recording of this, or we will send out an announcement probably later on this week that if they weren't able to visit this, attend live, that the recording will be made available. So
Great. Yeah, Kendra in the chat box, she says she doesn't have a microphone, but she is a certified child life specialist in Worcester, Maine, and they have recently started using my special Aflac duck. So I hope that is going well for you guys, Kendra, and having.
Thank you, Kendra.
Absolutely.
And you're just a hop, skip, and a jump from us in Providence.
Field trip.
Well, and I think Michelle, she was on just a little bit ago, but I believe she may be a social worker, but she actually just placed an order too while we were on this call. So kudos.
Yay, Michelle.
Right.
Thank you.
And I know she uses the duck as well pretty regularly because I see her orders come through.
Fantastic. I know that a lot of our members used my special Aflac duck this past summer as one of their special mailing features that they sent to their campers. And I think I saw pictures of camps, the boxes stacked up in their office, and they said, oh, we're sending these to all of our kiddos that are going to do our virtual family camp, or our virtual summer camp. So I think that's awesome. And I know that I talked to some of them. They were actually going to provide a virtual program where they taught the kids, how to use the duck if they had never interacted with it before in the hospital. So
I was talking to one of our camp directors on a Zoom call over the summer. He was in his garage and he had this cardboard box wall around him of all Aflac ducks. So, I mean, they're excited about it. And I know that, and we will work as hard as we can to help you with your mission as well. So.
Well, and we appreciate that so much. One other thing that I do want to mention, or just kind of call out, that we are always, hoping to be able to do is also collect testimonials. And so as you are, sharing My Special Aflac Duck and distributing them to your patients, if you ever have any testimonials, that helps us also share with Aaron as he does research and really just learn firsthand how My Special Aflac Duck is making an impact. And we love to also use those testimonials in different, social media platforms to just help bring awareness. So that really shares a lot about the impact. So that is something we can always use your help on as well.
And I thank you so much, Elaine, for that, because I'll second. Actually, the most challenging part of some of our work is finding people to talk with. So, we love doing it. It's a cool opportunity to meet people that created the duck for kiddos, and we love hearing feedback. If they want to make the duck walk, we want to hear that. If they want, as I saw, like to record their heartbeat in the duck, that's awesome. So if you have any families that you think would be interested, my email I'm sharing in the chat now is aaron@sproutel.com, and you can feel free to reach out to me directly. And we would love to set up some time with families that are in your network.
I did want to get permission from our participants to be able to share your name and email with Elaine so she can follow up with you if that's all right. If anybody opposes, let me know. But I think I tell people this all the time, the COCA bunch that we work with are just the most loving and kind folks, and want to be able to do anything to help support everybody's program, and as well as the kids that they work with. So I just want to make sure that they have that list so they can follow up and talk to anybody that doesn't have access yet, for sure, get them connected.
Can I ask the Aflac folks a question? So we serve the whole family. Siblings, in fact, have a higher incidence of alcohol and drug abuse as adults than the diagnosed child. And to be honest, here in Southern Arizona, we even, I would say, have an increase of suicide, sibling suicide. And so have you ever thought of adding, I know that would be a heck of a lot of more ducks, but have you ever thought of adding a sibling duck?
Yes, and I might pitch to Aaron for a minute because he actually did a little bit of research around that. I will say though, I should mention this. We also, besides the My Special Aflac Duck program, we also do child life grants each year. And I can send you all, we usually start that process, I want to say May-ish through July. And we have just a real short application form to apply for those grants. And a lot of those grants we actually have made towards sibling programs. So it is something that's very important to us too. But Aaron actually has pitched the idea of a sibling duck.
Yeah, anyway, I think in some ways siblings have almost a greater need because all the ologists are paying attention to the diagnosed child, and siblings are either staying with the neighbor or grandma or wherever. You know, they really get the short end of the emotional stick. And oftentimes they'll even say, geez, you know, I wish I had cancer, because all of the stuff that comes to the diagnosed child. You know, a child sees it as sort of love, you know, adults just see it as stuff. But anyway, it's just a different perspective.
No, thank you so much for bringing it up, Beverly. And it's something that we care really deeply about. And as Buffy said, we did actually a lot of digging and discovered exactly the same things. And I believe it was 68% higher chance of developing post-traumatic stress disorder later in life. You know, all of these statistics, but I think you brought, you know, the real heart to it. And, you know, the best thing that we've been doing in the interim has been talking to child life professionals about how to introduce the duck as a tool for the family and not a tool for the child. And we've seen a lot of interesting success with triadic play, so sibling duck, and where it allows the sibling to get involved in the chemo treatments, so the sibling can help give chemo to the duck and make them feel included. So that has been kind of our stopgap solution, is how might we use the duck to help make the sibling feel more included in the care, and how might the duck be used at home to facilitate or really to give the sibling a window into what's happening in the hospital. Because a lot of what we heard is that the sibling sees the child go to the hospital. As you said, parental attention at that young age, even though it's disease related, is indistinguishable from love. So to give an eye into, okay, this is everything that's happening when your sibling is going to the hospital, and we can do it together with the duck and make them a part of getting ready, give them a role in the care, and that role being involved with the duck. So again, that's not a full solution for you, but that's just some of the best practices that we've been kind of sharing and that we've been learning from CLS that they have been doing.
Actually,
I don't know a lot about technology, but how much spying can you do on these kids? Because you're collecting information on bananas. I mean, what else are you collecting?
So
like location, you know, I mean, whatever. I listened to NPR. They had a good article on that about face recognition yesterday.
Yeah, so what we do, we don't collect any data on children. We have anonymized app data. So when I mentioned the bananas, it's because you could feed them in the app. So we just get a similar analytics report to what you'd see if you've looked at like a website analytics, but there is, you know, we abide by all COPPA laws, and there's kind of nothing that is really stored about any of the individual children.
So you couldn't hunt them down from their duck?
No.
All right. I don't know anything about COPPA, but whatever.
Oh, it's the law that basically protects child privacy here.
Other questions we can help answer for you guys? I was going to say we did get some feedback that kind of to what Aaron was talking about, that siblings were using the duck too with their sister or brother going through treatment to tell them how they're feeling. So using those same feeling cards to have the siblings share their emotions of what they're feeling, and then kind of back and forth with each other. We've gotten some great feedback on that. So
I love that, because, you know, if there's a very young sibling who's still working on forming their words, but understands what facial cues are, and, you know, when they look at someone and they can tell they don't feel well, it's such a great way for the patient to tell their brother or sister, you know, how they're doing. So that's awesome.
If you do make sibling ducks, don't make them smaller.
You heard it, Erin.
I do have a question about the app. Is it something that I have the boxes, the ducks are sitting in our office, but I haven't opened them yet. Is one duck particular to, like, do you have to register it so they only can respond to one app, or can the child life specialist have an app on her phone and use it with every kid?
Exactly. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, there's no unique pairing. And it's also worth noting, and I know that this came up in the chat, but that we designed the duck actually first and foremost to be used without an app. So the primary experience is an appless one. The app just adds a little something extra. But most everything that you can do in the app, you can also just do right on the duck. So if the child or parent, doesn't have access to a phone or tablet, that's no problem for using the duck.
So I've never used this duck, to be honest, but the kids tell me a lot of stuff. So one of them said they recorded their heartbeat. So is that on the duck or the app? And so say that, child passes away, the recording is where, on the duck or the app?
I think that sounds like a really creative child, because you cannot yet record your heartbeat on the duck or the app. But we do hang out with kids a lot as we design products, and that doesn't seem out of character for a kid to say.
Okay. I don't know. I don't have time to play with a duck, but.
Quick question, is there a age range that seems to kind of have the best response or best interactions with the ducks? I personally love the duck and show it to anybody and anyone that I can, but I just was curious if there's an age range that kind of is most interested.
We've kind of found the sweet spot to be, between the ages of 3 and 11. But I mean, I have seen 25-year-olds get the duck that were being treated in a pediatric center, and they love the duck. So I'm kind of with you. Whoever wants it can have it. There's really no upper age limit. There is just for toy safety, no below the age of 3, but that seems to be the sweet spot, like, 3 to 9, 3 to 11, 3 to 13, maybe somewhere around in there.
Perfect, thank you.
I will share a funny anecdote is that when we were designing the duck, the duck doesn't speak in English, the duck quacks. And so we recorded over 3,000 unique quack sounds. And there was a 1-week period of time in our office where our whole team had to listen to all 3,000 unique quacks and down select to the number of quacks that are in our current duck. And by the end of that week, we were all saying, so we've all developed a sense of duckish and all of the duck's unique emotions.
That's hilarious.
Any other questions? Y'all have been great. These are really good questions.
I have one question.
Sure.
Hey y'all, it's Charlie with Smile Mile. I was just curious. I love the Aflac duck. I think it's wonderful. And I was just wondering if you guys have ever heard children using the duck when they re-enter school, if they've been away for a long time. I just was curious if any of the kids felt a sense of pride and wanted to show other people using the Aflac duck, like when they re-enter the school system. It was just me thinking, has anyone heard of that happening?
I haven't, but we did get a testimonial about, it was so cute, a little girl who is, because she's at home for school and doing virtual school, her duck is in her classroom with her, and she kind of practices teaching with the duck. So we did get that one not too long ago. I can't think of one where they brought it in. Erin or Elaine, y'all may remember hearing something like that. That's a great question.
It is a great question. I haven't heard of such, but that's another reason why we want to collect testimonials so that we can learn those type of things as well. So if we do, I will follow back up with you and share.
Oh, thank you. I
Actually-
was just curious. This was wonderful. Thank you.
I actually think that's a great idea, Charlie, because, you know, we all know that re-entry into school for patients is difficult many times. And, you know, when they walk back into that classroom for the first time and maybe they're bald headed and haven't seen any of their friends, you know, duck is their friendly companion that's going to kind of help them get them through the day, probably, you know. So I think that's cool.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, y'all? Thank you. This has been good.
It's our pleasure. Thank you guys for all that you do for these families and for sitting through our presentation and learning more about what we're up to with my special Aflac duck. Well, y'all have a wonderful day. We appreciate the opportunity and let us know how we can support you.
Thank you, Buffy, Aaron, and Elaine. It's great to see y'all. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.